Good evening, St. Lucia, and welcome to another SLP Town Hall Tuesday. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and my guest this evening is my dearest friend, Mr. Jeremiah Norbert, the candidate for Micoud North. Welcome to SLP Town Hall Tuesday.
Thank you, Monday.
Jeremiah was reminding me that the last time that he was here, well, not here, our last interview was Chill and Chat, a fresh candidate. And he was so afraid, guys, like so afraid. But I think he's been at this for a while, so this should be easy, right?
Let's hope so.
Okay, all right. So Jeremiah, a lot of people know of you now. But please just tell us, for those who may be tuning in for the first time, just tell us a little about Jeremiah Norbert and why he's running for Micoud North on a St. Lucia Labour Party ticket.
Okay, good evening, Monday. Good evening, St. Lucia. Good evening, Micoud North. My name is Jeremiah Norbert, 30 years old, eldest son of Marika Norbert. She has 10 of us. From the community of Lapointe, Monrepo. I was born and raised there. I attended the Pastors Combined School, went on to the Vieux-Fort Comprehensive School, and then I went to the Sarah Lewis Community College. After that, let's fast track. I joined the Royal St. Lucia Police Force in 2010. I graduated as best recruit, spent the next 10 years of my life working as a policeman, and then I resigned last year, October. And here I am, I threw my heart into the political arena, and here I am now. So, me getting into politics, it has to do with, it was not just about getting into politics, but Micoud North was what drove me into politics. I mean, I looked at what happened in my constituency, what has been happening over a few years, and it's heart-wrenching Monday, and I say it every day. I mean, as a young man, growing up, you would love to see your constituency being developed. I can remember as a young man, there were so many things that kept the constituency together, so many social activities, the development in the constituency. At the time, I mean, banana was the main crop. But when we made that change from banana, the transition from banana to tourism, Micoud North did not make that transition, and they did not benefit from that transition. And that can be seen in what obtains in Micoud North right now. So I felt I have a meaningful contribution. I have a lot to offer to the people of Micoud North, and hence I threw my hat in the ring, and this is why I joined the political game today.
But Jeremiah, a lot of people would say, crazy move. You have a family, you're 30 fresh, and you had a 10-year career in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. And you said it is your community which drove you
Yes.
to do that. So far on the journey, what has been the experience like?
To be quite honest, Monday, when I knew I had a good feeling as to what the ground was like. I knew that getting into politics was not going to be easy. You know, people already have preconceived notions as to what politics is. People label politics as dirty, and I always say I don't believe that politics is dirty. We, as individuals, go in there, or people go into politics with their intentions already, their preconceived intentions, and when they get there, I mean, politics just gives them that avenue to do more. So if you choose to do good, I think that politics gives you that opportunity to do good for a lot. So if you decide to do bad, then it also creates that opportunity. But the reception on the ground has been one which has been, I mean, heartwarming. My people have embraced me. I mean, it has been, I would say, I knew that I was not going to regret that move, and today I feel even more confident that I threw my hat into the ring.
Okay, but your entrance into politics, I mean, on a wave, you were on a high, and then you had your accident, and everyone was thinking, boy, Norbert is out. But, Jeremiah, and I've always said to people that even just in the discussions with you, you're overseas in Martinique, and I see you calling me, and you're brighter than the sun. What do you think contributed to that outlook that you had, and to get through what a lot of people thought was a life-changing moment?
Faith, my inner strength. I never really relied on my own understanding. I always depended on God. Even before my accident, I I mean, God has, I said it before that my entrance into politics, there was divine intervention. And every step of the way, God has revealed so many things to me. So I know that this is not just Jeremiah operating on his own accord, but this is God paving a way for me. So my courage and my strength does not come from myself. It's not from the human aspect of it. It's the spiritual aspect for me. And, you know, Monday, as much as some people look at the accident and say, you know, oh, some people thought that I was out of it, I knew what the accident actually did was actually it gave me some more momentum, to be quite honest. It gave me an opportunity to showcase my true courage, my true strength amid the adversities. So for me, there was never a moment where I doubted whether or not I was going to be the candidate after my accident, even when certain people were already rumoring around that I'm no longer going to be running for the seat and that they're looking for a new candidate. I mean, that never bothered me. I knew that, I mean, all these things were falsehood, so I never even paid any attention to this. So it's just, I mean, and that's what I say. You have to, you see, when I was raised in such a way, my mother did a good job in raising me as it pertains to my faith and my strength and me believing in God, knowing that He will get me through everything that I undertake. And this is what the accident, it just showed, it gave me an opportunity to speak and to let people know that, you know, that you should depend on God for everything and not rely solely on your human strength.
It is quite, revealing of someone. And again, I don't like to say young because we're both young, but it's quite rare to see somebody with such faith in God, faith in the community. But you also had a very supportive team, and I mean, Roma Wilson and your whole gang, they really, held it down for you in Micoud North whilst you were away. So what say you about that strong team?
Um, you attract what you are, Monday. That's what it is. You attract what you are. And people like my campaign manager, Roma, Ghana Shalri, and everyone else who held the fort in my absence. Let me tell you, I am grateful, I'm thankful for what they did. And it shows that all of them have, I mean, they're the same aim, everybody is there, the same objective, and the intention is to let's win this seat and let's start developing our community, let's start taking responsibility for our community. So as much as I may be the candidate, all of them have the same mindset as I do, and the mindset, and it's just one goal, one objective. And I mean, that is what keeps that is what drives them also. They want to see a change in the community, and in my absence it showed that even without me being there physically, that they were able to keep the momentum, keep things going, and there was still people were, even without me being there physically, people were still able to feel my presence in the constituency. So for that I'm grateful, and I want to say, I mean, great job to my team and to continue to encourage them, to do what they've started. I mean, it's not been an easy road. To say that it has been an easy road, I mean, that would not be true, but they've done what is required, what is needed, and they've brought us this far.
Okay, Jeremiah. So you've been back home. I mean, you left physically, but
Yeah.
I mean, even when as a party we were saying, Jeremiah, focus on recovery. You were in your sheets, your spreadsheets, going through it all. But now that you're back, you've been on the ground for months now. What have you seen? What are some of the issues coming out of Micoud North in this period?
Okay. Um, some of the issues were, I mean, they existed even before I left, and when I came back, there was just a little more noise about it. I mean, as we speak, we have the situation of the jetty in Micoud. I think we'd have seen that there were several news articles about the jetty, and it made waves. The fishermen are crying and struggling as it relates to them being able to get access to their boats to go to sea. And up to yesterday, a gentleman sent me a voice note, and he says like a pigsty for them because they have to get into this seaweed. And the sargassum
Picture
is,
of it.
yeah, and the sargassum is very thick. And I mean, there are worm-like creatures walking through there, and they have to make their way through there to go to their boats to earn a living. So that situation has not gotten any better. And I mean, right now it's very pressing, and I think we need some urgent attention. We still have the problem of unemployment in the community where so many young people are unemployed. We have the issue of we do not have equity as it pertains to projects and the projects being done. Yes, and I keep on saying it. Yes, we're seeing projects being undertaken in the constituency. Yes, we're seeing things happening in the constituency. But the problem we have is that the same people continue to benefit from these projects, and majority of people within the community do not benefit, or they do not get anything from this project. So we've not really seen any social programs, more or less, where we empower people, or where people can say, this I mean, because of COVID, they implemented social programs, and because of that, I can say that my life is better today. We've not really seen any of that in the community. We continue to see the construction of roads. We continue to see some infrastructure happening, but as I said, it's just a sad situation to see every time we have the same people benefiting from these projects. So these were some of the issues that existed prior to me having the accident and leaving and coming back. It's just, I mean, people are crying, they're more anxious, they're more frustrated because I mean, even with the situations being highlighted, you would think maybe some attention would be given and we would see a difference, but that has not really happened. It has continued, it has remained the same. It's like there's no regard for these people who are crying and suffering.
I remember you spoke, you and Honorable Moses Baptiste, you guys had a meeting with the fishermen, and coming out of that, we saw, again, the need for the jetty, the issue of the sargassum. Is it that it's just never cleaned on, probably like on a weekly basis or monthly basis, it's just left to pile up?
Well, you see, the issue with the sargassum is one that requires a long-term solution, because you have the sargassum keeps coming into
Yes.
the bay. So it's not a situation where you just take an excavator and you clean for 2 hours or 2 days or 3 days. The situation is one that's going, it's like a recurring problem. So we have to find a long-term solution. The long-term solution is a jetty. So because what the fishermen are asking, they know that it's not going to be easy to remove the sargassum from the bay. However, what can happen is that if they have a jetty where they feel comfortable and they are able to go to work, then they can go onto their boats and go access their boats without having to go to sargassum. Because fishermen right now, what they've done is that they've reduced. I mean, they used to go to sea at 4 and 5 in the morning, and they tell you they don't feel comfortable going into the sargassum at this time. So right now they go at 7 or 8, and sometimes they spend the entire day out. They come back, they did not catch any fish, and then when they come back, you have to get back into the sargassum to go onto the shore. So it's a problem that needs, as I said, it needs urgent attention.
Okay, and we have a video, I think, of seeing some fishermen, and I was in awe of that. Could we get that video, please? Jeremiah, is that for real?
Yeah, Money, you look at how the thickness of the sargassum. This is inhumane that someone has to get into this, and this is the only way that these fishermen make a livelihood. So they have absolutely no choice but to risk it and go into that. Now, the other problem we have is the fishermen complain that when people come to buy fish and they realize that the fishermen have to go through the seaweed with the fish, sometimes you get the sargassum getting onto the fish. People are reluctant to purchase the fish from them. That in itself creates a problem, because you know right now people are already they're reluctant because they realize the same sargassum, and you know the stench that comes out from the sargassum, so people are reluctant to buy the fish. So and look at the thickness of the sargassum, and as I said, there are worm-like creatures going through the sargassum. Some of the fishermen, they suffer with rash on their legs because they have to get into it, because that is the only way that they can make a meaningful livelihood. So it's just something that needs urgent attention, and really need to do something about that, because we cannot continue like that. The fishermen cannot continue like that.
Oh, that's a lot, St. Lucia. And I mean, just seeing that, and a jetty would solve a lot of that issue, and also maybe a monthly cleaning of the beach would assist persons, because it really does look like it has been piled on. But St. Lucia, this is SLP Town Hall Tuesday. My guest, Mr. Jeremiah Norbert, the candidate for Micoud North, will be back right after the break. Welcome back to SLP Town Hall Tuesday. Again, I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and my guest, Mr. Jeremiah Norbert, the candidate for Micoud North. Jeremiah and I just literally went through a very, I think, heart-wrenching time and ordeal, a video of fishermen with their catch going through some heavy sargassum. And again, like he said, all the people are asking for is a jetty, so that, I mean, they're already doing the work. If the MP even cared half enough that she would get this done for the people who she's been representing for the last 5 years. But I suppose maybe, I don't know, it's not as lucrative as other endeavors that she's going through. Who knows? But anyway, Jeremiah, um, I mean, I know Fisherman Day or dealer is very close to your heart, and because the constituency also depends on that, but you also have the farmers, and you have a large constituent of younger voters, which I think that you've been able to attract and bring interest into the politics. What do you hear from younger voters? What is it that they want?
Okay. Um, when I speak to the young people, and I mean I speak to them on a day-to-day basis, what I get is that you have young people who are asking to be gainfully employed, and they're asking to be employed. They want sustainable employment. It's not a situation you employ me 5 days in the year, and then for the rest of the year, we have a situation where 360 days I'm unemployed. So the biggest cry is about employment. Then we have the situation with the sporting facilities. I mean, right now, after it was a few years, they were doing some work on the field in Micoud. Right now, I see young men playing back on the field, but we have a lot of fields. Micoud North is a very large constituency, and we have a lot of sub-level playing fields within the community which are not being kept. They're not being maintained. So you have a situation like in La Pointe, we have 2 fields, and the people take the responsibility of upkeeping for the upkeeping of these fields because they did not get any assistance from any government. We have a situation with the Went playing field. I know that COVID did not permit you to engage in contact sports, but right now we're having a certain level of relaxation as it pertains to the COVID protocols. So the young people are eager to get back into playing their football, into playing their cricket, and getting back into contact sports. But what we have is that the fields are not maintained, so they have some difficulties as it relates to that. We also have the situation of social programs. A lot of young people in Micoud North tell you, like, Micoud is dead in terms of social activities. There's nothing really to do apart. If you're not interested in sports, and I mean football or cricket, then there's nothing really to attract you as a young person or to keep you engaged. So a lot of them are asking for even non-conventional sports. So I mean, we've stuck to football and cricket for a long time, but right now we're exposed to so many things, and young people their interest starts varying right now, and they're no longer interested in just cricket and football, or they're not limited to just cricket and football, and they would like to see swimming facilities. They would like to see places where they can do the theater, the arts, the drama, and this type of thing. So they would like to see social programs and things whereby we have activities that bring the social life back. Because right now we have as you speak, you go into Micoud, and I tell you at times, if you're not invited into a funeral or a church activity, then you almost have no reason to go into the village, and this is sad. This is sad. I remember one time when they used to have this activity similar to Fish Fest by the bay in Micoud. And what that did is that generated so much economic activity. So many of our vendors were selling. You could find all young men and all young women out there having a good time. That was the place where people got to socialize. And there was that little extra nightlife to Micoud. Right now, we have absolutely nothing except if you go to a bar and to have a drink. That's it. But there is no social life in Micoud.
Okay, and Jeremiah, so as a young person, what is it that you you must have your own ideas as to how we engage youth, what you would want to do as a young person. What are some of the plans you've been speaking to persons in your camp and also those within your constituency?
Okay, Monday. We've discussed several plans as it pertains to Micoud North. First, I would like to see a lot more people from Micoud North, young people from Micoud North, becoming university graduates. And I think one of the ways that we can make this thing a reality is by getting the people who have been occupying lands in Micoud North for a very long time, giving them an opportunity to become landowners. And if they become landowners, then they have the opportunity, they have an opportunity to go out there and mortgage their property and be able to send their sons and daughters to university. Because what obtains now is a lot of people have invested heavily into their house. They've spent a few $100,000 building a house, but they do not have title to that house, to the land, so they're not able to mortgage it. So I would love to see more people from Micoud become landowners and not just land occupants. You don't just occupy a piece of land for occupying a piece of land's sake. And I know that that will become a reality very soon. The beautification of Micoud, a lot of young people would like to see a Micoud North that is attractive, where you walk through a community and you feel proud to say, this is my community. So to go to undertake a beautification drive, and it can be flower planting, planting trees on the river beds, but taking back that community of ours, bringing back that sense of pride, that sense of togetherness, you understand, into the community. So these are some of the things that the young people are asking. As I mentioned, we're looking at, even strengthening the sports councils. Right now we have interim sports councils, youth and sports councils, and to strengthen them, provide support to the youth and sports council. Because when youth and sports councils used to operate properly in Micoud North, we had a situation we used to have a road relay that was properly organized youth and sport. People like Mr. Nicolas Jabatis, they took time and pride in organizing activities that brought young people together. And I remember this time, these were exciting times for us. So right now, I would like to see that type of activity, that type of support be given to the sports council, so that they can now operate and they can put together activities for young people that attract young people.
Jeremiah, I'm very happy you spoke about, getting title to land, and that is a program that the St. Lucia Labour Party had done, a proud program, so people can actually own the lands that they've occupied. So I think, like you said, in some months to come with a new Labour Party government, that would be an achievement. And then you also spoke about the university graduate, and our political leader, Honorable Philip JPS, spoke about the one university graduate per household. For you, even for me, going to school was a big deal. It's a big undertaking. And I never think that people should be denied opportunities just because they cannot afford it. So I think we're all looking forward to that day when, people from Micoud North, from Cicero, from Grosley can say that, I'm the first university graduate from my home. So.
We know what university being when you're a university graduate, we know what it brings to the family. Mm-hmm. I look at myself and my brothers and sisters, they endeavor to follow me and they work hard and they want to outdo me because and that's what it is, like a competition. Yes. So what it does now, it creates that type of avenue, create that pathway. Once we have one university graduate, he now can open doors for his brothers, his siblings, his sisters, you understand? And that is the whole idea of it. So I would love to see a lot more people graduating, becoming university graduates from the constituency of Micoud North, and I will do everything within my power, Monday. And I assure the people of Micoud North that I will do everything within my power to see that we are one of the biggest beneficiaries of the Proud Project. Yes, I'm serious. I think only that we've not been very lucky in Micoud North, if you want to put it that way, in terms of the type of representation that we've received over the years. I don't want to call it mediocre, but we have a situation where, we've settled for very little in Micoud North. And I think that there's a lot more. And that's why I said, I encourage people of Micoud North to be demanding. Ask more of your rep. You understand? Ask more of your rep, because when we want your support, we find ourselves at your doorstep. We find ourselves wherever you are asking for your support. And when we become elected, I think it is the onus is now on you to ensure that you ask and you demand from your rep. And if you demand, you're going to get. And I assure the people of Micoud North that they are going to get. Yeah.
Is that you putting Honorable Philip Pierre on notice for the people of
well, I think Mr. Pierre and I have had that conversation that, the people of Micoud North, the representation that they're asking for, that they're going to get it. And I'm not going to stop until they receive that type of representation that they're proud to speak about. Representation, I want the people of Micoud North to be able to say, I'm proud, I'm happy, this is the man that I voted for. This is the type of representation. And I know that we do not operate in a vacuum, and that, we have limitations as it pertains to resources and in terms of fiscal space for development. We understand that, and I'm not a magician. I'm not going to swing my hand and overturn Micoud North overnight. I'm not going to just make everything become like a magic city or like a fairy tale. However, I think there's a lot that can be done and a lot that should be done that I can do for the people of Micoud North upon entering office, and that I will do when I get into office.
But Jeremiah, is it an issue of you think that there are misplaced priorities? Because I heard when you just started, you spoke about roads being built, but right now, and I always say during a COVID-19 period, is that still the priority of the people?
Yeah, Mondial, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's a situation of misprioritizing right now. And I'm all for development. I'm pro-development. I mean, I would love to see all roads well paved and no potholes. I would love to see that. But when we look at the environment that we're operating in right now, and you look at COVID-19 and what COVID-19 has done in terms of the amount of people who have become unemployed, the amount of people who are on the breadline and they do not know how they're going to send their children to school. And when you give me a road, I ask, can I really eat the road? And I say, right now we should be thinking about people. And that is why I'm happy to be part of the St. Lucia Labour Party, a party which has assured the people of St. Lucia that they're going to put the people first. Because and the sad thing, one, is that the roads which have been done in the community, who are the beneficiaries of this road? That is the question. How many people in Micoud North can put up their hand and say, honestly, that I have a brother, a sister who's employed on the road during the construction phase. I have my brother or my sister who was employed and they're bringing a bread into the household. How many people can really say that they benefit from that road? Very few. Very few. We keep on seeing the same people working every time. And this is very sad, Monday. This is very sad. And this is why one of my main priorities is to restore equity and equality in the constituency. Bring back that sense of belonging where everyone in the community is able to get a piece of the pie. And it's not just kept for or reserved for a handful of people, a family friend or whatever it is. And that is why I said one of my main priorities is to ensure that equity and equality is restored in the community. And I've always made it clear that you see this idea of color where we victimize people because of their political affiliations, and we decide that I'm not going to give this one a job or this one is not entitled because this person is. We need to stop this. Yeah, we need, and I call everyone involved in that political arena. I ask all of us to stop this. I mean, if somebody is deserving or somebody is qualified, and there's an opportunity, give it to them. I mean, we look at things too close. And we as politicians need to get away from that habit and that attitude and give people what they deserve.
Indeed. St. Lucia, it's very exciting to hear this from Jeremiah, because I think a lot of persons are looking forward to one St. Lucia, really, and communities where all of us, because at the end of the day, everyone's related to somebody, everybody knows someone, and it's just counterproductive that this victimization just continues, and especially under this government. We are due for another break, St. Lucia. My guest, Mr. Jeremiah Norbert, and this is SLP Town Hall Tuesday. Welcome back to SLP Town Hall Tuesday. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and again, my guest, Mr. Jeremiah Norbert. I just got a message from a past candidate who said, "Are you calling him Mr.?" But I'm not sure. Why are you calling him Mr.? I think it's just television etiquette, maybe?
Yes.
Perhaps. But St. Lucia, it's been very exciting to have Jeremiah on an SLP ticket. For me, personally, sometimes it gets lonely being young, being a female, even if, he's one of the boys. but we still get to bring that youthful vigor into the party, even if I dare say that, sometimes Mr. Pear wants to give you all a little, test you a little bit of the dressing, and, but I just think he's cool like that. But, Jeremiah, how has the experience been for you within a political party? Because I think a lot of young persons are apprehensive about getting involved. Have you had any doubts coming in? I mean, I know you all, you have that kind of macho kind of, I can do all things. Yeah. But how has it been?
Smooth sailing, man.
Wow.
Smooth sailing. I must give credit to the political leader and the team for, me coming into the party as a young man. And, they've helped me. They took my hand and showed me, they led me through the pastures. So it made me getting in there, the transition from policing to politics, very easy because of the team that I had, or the team that the St. Lucia Labour Party have. So they helped me as a young man, and they understand what it is like coming in as a young man, and they gave me the advice, the assistance that I needed, and they've been very supportive of me from the time, and for that I'm indeed very grateful.
What would you like to see if you become an MP and also a candidate? What is it that you would want done differently in governance? What is it? How would you want to attract young people to our party and also to government?
Monday, I think we can start. I mean, making the decision to get into the political arena is a big decision, especially for a young person. And that is because of the atmosphere right now. We have what exists right now. Young people feel that if you express your political views, that you're going to get victimized or you're going to be marginalized. They're going to place you on a side, you understand? And a lot of young people, they have a lot to offer, but they take a step back because, I mean, they proceed, or if they do, they proceed with caution because, I mean, they have their own self to safeguard against victimization. One thing I think that we can do, we can start at even through local government. And I encourage young people when I have meetings with them, offer yourself for service. Offer yourself to be part of local government. There are councils that you can be part of in terms of when you look at the councils within the constituency councils. So you can start there and I mean go move up. And there's so much money that you can learn from the people, so many ideas that they have up to, I mean, we were having a discussion and I felt, I mean, when this young man made this statement and he mentioned certain things to me, I felt, wow, we have so much potential on the ground and we're not tapping into these young people because these young people, what they have, we've instilled fear in them in terms of them coming out and express themselves, and they have so much to offer. Because there's one idea that a gentleman discussed, a young man discussed with me, and I think this would work brilliant. And when I become, and you said, if I become MP or if I become, I mean, I don't use the word if. I'll tell you only when, because I know that it is going to happen. There is no doubt about it. I can say that here tonight with the utmost conviction that I am going to be the next parliamentary rep for Micoud, and there is no if, no buts, and no maybes about it. That is what it is. And if there is one thing I assure this man as I'm going to try my best to push is that I believe every person, every young child going through a school within my constituency, I think it can be done island-wide, but I speak about Micoud now, that they should have some level of skill training. And we have a lot of people within the Micoud community who are offering themselves skilled carpenters, we have painters, chefs, mechanic who are offering to come volunteering their skills, volunteering their time, come and teach young children from the primary school level into the secondary school level. And I think that this is a brilliant idea, that every child going through any school in Micoud, and people should want to send their children to school in Micoud, because what you have is a situation where every child who goes through the walls of the school will be trained with, will be equipped with a skill upon leaving the walls of any school within the constituency of Micoud. And we do not have to wait on government to implement. I mean, what we can wait on the government to do is help us in terms of getting certification like TVET certification or CVQs, these type of things. But there are a lot of things that we can do within the community itself in terms of ensuring that every child has a skill, so he does not have to rely on the academics solely, and if he does not become a teacher or a lawyer or a doctor, there is no hope for him. And what it also does, it gives us an opportunity to see the tendency of a child from a very young age, so we know if our child is more skilled inclined and being academically inclined, and we can propel them and I mean push them along the right way. So we know, okay, my child likes joinery. We can work with him from a tender agency. Okay, he has a tendency as it pertains to joinery, and we can work with him. So that when the man who made the suggestion, he didn't just make the suggestion. He offered his services to go out there and teach young people. So this is one of the initiatives that I will try my best to push within the community. And I think other constituencies will see it and they'll model and try. What this does, it gives us a workforce with skilled people. So you do not have to just wait on a fireman to retire for it to become the next fireman. You can choose to become a joiner, a carpenter, or some other skilled job. You can find another skilled job. So
I get it. I always wonder, everyone's always looking for a carpenter or plumber.
Yeah.
And I can't even tell you one off the top of my head. Okay, go to Mr. Joe, or go to...
And what we can do is also not just have people being carpenters or plumbers, or listing them so that you know when you want a carpenter, you can just come to Micoud North and say, here's the list. We have 140 carpenters, qualified carpenters, that is, who have certificates. And if they decide today or tomorrow that they want to go to Canada or somewhere within the region, within the OECS, their qualification will also be accepted, and they will be able to work as a qualified plumber or qualified carpenter. So you give them that type of exposure. And I think every child deserves that opportunity, especially in Micoud North. And I think we should start with Micoud North. Yeah.
Really, Jeremiah. But I like the plug. We always focused on Micoud North. And I know from just speaking to you, it's a community that has given you a lot, and you feel that right now it's the time to give them all that they've given you. So kudos to you for that when you become the next MP.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Thank you. Yes. Sorry. So I'll instead of calling you Mr. now, I'll call you Honorable.
Thank you.
Honorable.
I receive it.
Very much so. But Jeremiah, even further into, we know that a lot of these communities have a lot of elderly persons. So we've been speaking about the youth, but how are we going to take care of those that have given us, who've poured into us, who've given us all the memories as children? How are we going to take care of the most vulnerable within our communities, our elderly?
Okay. And I come back to, you say our communities, I come back to Micoud North Monday. The elderly people hold a very special place in my heart. I mean, these are the people who have built the foundation that we stand on right now. They're responsible for where we are, and we must give them, it is our responsibility to ensure that we create an environment that is conducive for them. So if there's one thought that always keeps going through my mind, I don't like to see elderlies being shut in, when I had my accident and I laid on the hospital bed and I was immobilized for a few months, it worked on my psyche for a little while. So I can imagine what it feels like for an elderly person being shut in for a year or 2 years and they have no social activities that they go to. So I believe we should make our parks more elderly friendly or more senior friendly, if you want to put it that way. Our parks, and have activities, put in place activities so where we can bring our seniors. The same way we want parks for the children, and we can take the tiny tots to a water park, to create something similar for our elderly people so that they can come out there, they can see other elderly people like themselves, you will them aid, they speak with the elderly persons like this. So you give them an opportunity to go out there and socialize. So we create that type of conducive environment for them where, we have ramps, so those of them who have wheelchairs, we create ramps for them and ensure that they go out there and they can have a good time, just like the children having a good time.
I think Kenton called it a senior daycare, I believe is what he said.
And my campaign manager is very passionate about that, Miss Roma Wilson. And this is something she keeps reminding me of every time, because she spent a lot of time providing care to the elderly. So this is, and this is something that she holds very dear, and she holds me responsible for that. She would love to see the elderly people being taken out of the house and being brought out where they have. Just like I remember when we used to have senior games, remember the senior games, and that used to be, my grandmother used to be excited to go to senior games, see them dress up with their pom-pom and whatever, and they go out there, and you could have seen the excitement, and it's a stress-free day. So I think that should be revamped and reintroduced. And reintroduced in a way now where we take into consideration that, they may have certain challenges, so we make accommodation for the challenges that they may have.
Okay, very nice. And I think it's very important to take care of. My grandmother is going through her own senior years, and that's someone who plaited my hair and fed me, got me to school. So that's a very good cause for me also. So I'm happy that you and Kenton also share.
Yeah, and what we also need to consider is that whatever we're creating, and when we take care of the elderly, we're also creating something for ourselves, because we're going to get there. So I would not want to be shut in for, 2 or 3 years just bedridden. I would love to know, even if I am not able to walk, but I can go on a wheelchair and somebody can bring me to a park and I can see other senior persons like myself and we can have a chat, So when we create that, it's not just creating it for the elderly, but we create it knowing that we prepare our beds, because we're going to get to that stage one day.
Definitely. That's really some perspective for you.
Yeah.
St. Lucia, Jeremiah Norbert, candidate for Micoud North. We're due for another break, but we'll be right back. Welcome back to SLB Town Hall Tuesday. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and my guest, Jeremiah Norbert, the candidate for Micoud North. I almost said the MP. I almost said the MP for Micoud North. But anyway, Jeremiah, we've been talking about Micoud North a lot,
Yeah.
and rightfully so. Um, just a neglected community constituency and neglected people, but hopefully, in a few weeks,
Yeah.
Alan Chastney, please call the election, that we will have a new government and people will finally get the government that they deserve. Jeremiah, I just want to backtrack a little. We've gone through a series of conversations in terms of the fishermen, the young people, senior citizens, and just caring for the constituency as a whole. But some would probably say that you need some caring. Despite your strong will, despite your determination, we know that you've experienced severe trauma a couple of months ago. How has that affected your lives? What are some of the things that, you go like, boy, it's a good thing I pay my I pay my medical insurance, or just take us through that, because I'm sure like a lot of persons, considering the healthcare crisis going on in Saint Lucia, if you hadn't had some of the options available to you, like God forbid, what would have been? So take us through that.
Okay, Mondi, you mentioned medical insurance. I mean, there are times where we sit and I would sit and I'd reflect on what happened over the past few months, and I'm very thankful. That I'm fortunate that I was able to I could have afforded medical insurance, and because of my medical insurance, I was able to afford the type of care that I received. I mean, here and abroad. And I think of so many people who do not have medical insurance, and if they were to find themselves in the situation that I found myself at the time, I mean, God forbid, it would be a very sad day for them. And thinking of it, I mean, I would like to see a better healthcare system in St. Lucia, one where when we have accidents or we face any kind of trauma, we do not have to necessarily get out of St. Lucia to seek medical care. I look at some of the challenges that I've had because of my accident. I mean, naturally, losing a limb or having a limb being amputated would bring about its challenges. I had to learn. I mean, I used to walk without any crutches or any apparatus. Now I had to learn to walk with crutches. That was not too difficult in itself, but I mean, it was something that I had to learn. I also had to learn to be a bit more dependent. Thank God for my wife, who made it from Cuba, came and made her way to Martinique, and she cared for me, and she provided the best care that I could have ever asked for in the world. I mean, and my wife is a medical doctor, so I did not have to be going up and down. She was the one who attended to my wound and my injury most of the time. So for that, I'm very grateful. But I also have to say, I mean, if there's one thing I learned is that prior to my accident, I did not know that you could have actually gotten a prosthetic limb in St. Lucia.
Okay.
And yes, you can. At the National Council for Persons with Disabilities have technicians, homegrown technicians, who are able and qualified, and they can prepare a limb for, and they have been doing it for a while, and I was not even aware that we had people right here in St. Lucia who could have prepared the prosthetic. So I mean, we have a lot of talent in St. Lucia that a lot of people would not know about. I mean, I have had reasons to go out on a few occasions, and it caused me to think, that we need to, when we build, we need to take into consideration that there are people who are not able to access the stairs, and they may have to use elevators and ramps, and I think these are features that need to be incorporated into buildings right now. I mean, we're going into a new era, and we have a lot of people who have, I mean, it can happen to the best of us. You can find yourself in an accident today or tomorrow and lose a limb, and you would like to know that if you were to lose a limb, that what you could get is comfort in terms of accessibility. You'd be able to get a ramp if you have to use a ramp. Even walking through the city, I mean, there are a lot of challenges. You look at the distances with the where they have the bricks over the drains to cross the road. If you're on crutches, you're not able to jump over a drain, and then you may have to walk for a very long distance to cross one of the streets or something of that sort. So these are some of the things right now. I mean, this accident has opened my eyes and has caused me to rethink a lot of things. Some things that you just pass on an ordinary day because you have no reason to think about it. Right now, I have reasons to look at the smallest things and say, oh, you know what, we may have to bring these walls a little closer to each other so that people may not have to walk such a long distance to just cross the street and come back down and that type of thing. And in terms of the access ramps, I think we need to see a lot more access ramps being built. And I think it should be made mandatory that when you're building any type of structure that you consider and you build and you consider the people who are not able to walk or those who are confined to wheelchairs or things of that sort.
I think, I think they are mandatory, but again, in building, there's probably not enough monitoring of the site. So a lot of these things get neglected, and until it really hits home, that's when you start to think. Because even with you now in the campaign, when we want to do something, I have to be like, if we want to go somewhere, it's like, Jeremiah, okay, can Jeremiah do this? And I know I'd call him St. Lucian, like, Jeremiah, can you go up that number of flights of steps? Is it okay? And then, so it's even making persons around you even more conscious. And I think that's a great thing because there are persons who've been living with it. Some of us will go through it in our lives. And I think it's very important that we're cognizant of that thing. So even, you spoke about the health insurance, and I'm thinking, a St. Lucia Labour Party had universal health care in the pipeline. We had Dr. Zyster Edmonds, we had Dr. Stephen King, Emma Hippolyte, who had gone through an extensive island-wide consultation to get St. Lucia to universal health care, and was just shelved by this government in 2016. But I suppose, when people have access, when people have options, these things really don't concern them.
Yeah, but you see, Monday, what we need to be cognizant of is that majority of people cannot afford the type of healthcare. They cannot afford the type of healthcare that they really need. A lot of people, they cannot afford to fly to Martinique or to get into a private ambulance and be flown over to Martinique to receive medical healthcare. The majority of people really and truly cannot afford it. So we need to have a plan that incorporates everyone, where it doesn't matter of your status, your color, whatever it is, you're able to get the type of healthcare that you're deserving, and not because you're labeled less fortunate that, you have to resort to a less fortunate type of healthcare. That should not be, because, everyone would love to have, everybody would love to have perfect health. The sad reality is that is not what it is. You understand? But we need to consider those people who really and truly cannot afford it. And I said, I'm fortunate that I was able to, I had medical insurance, and my medical insurance came through for me. I must say, Nagico did a very good job in terms of coming through. Yes, they did a very good job, ensured that everything went well for me. Even when I returned home, they've been checking up on me, making sure that everything is okay. So I must say kudos to Nagico for the wonderful job that they did.
Free plug.
And I really wish that, and I like to encourage those people who can afford it right now. Whilst we wait on something being done, those who can afford it right now too, because you never know the importance of insurance until the needs arises for medical insurance.
Indeed. Jeremiah, so we need to wrap up.
Yes.
And it's been a very extensive conversation. We've talking about so many things. But I know you have some final words for the people of Micoud. So go ahead.
Well, Monday, my words are very short, just to remind the people of Micoud North that Micoud say Sanu. I cannot get tired of saying that, and that is how I've dealt with Micoud North. We, as the constituents of Micoud North, we need to take the responsibility for developing our community. We do not necessarily have to wait on a government handout to do. There is a lot more that we can do as a people, as a community. I look forward to fostering that type of cohesion back in my community, bringing that community spirit together. I look forward also to receiving a lot from the St. Lucia Labour Party for the people of the Micoud North. Yeah? I look forward to receiving a lot from the St. Lucia Labour Party, and aiding the plans that I have for the development of Micoud North. So I just want to tell people of Micoud North, I know that it has been a very long 5 years. It has been very difficult. It has been daunting. But I tell you, hope is on the horizon. We're in a few weeks We're expecting the announcement of the election and the election in itself, and we're expecting a change of government. I know that, as I mentioned to you earlier, I'm confident where Micoud North is going this time. There's no doubt about it. I want to assure the people of Micoud North that I, Jeremiah Norbert, will continue to advocate and speak and represent the people of Micoud North. I will make the best of the opportunity when given to me. I know that you all are going to give me the opportunity, that you all interest me, and you all are going to give me the opportunity to represent you all, and I will make the best of the opportunity. And as I said, and I will continue to say, that the representation is for everybody in the constituency, and I said it over and over. We're not looking at the red and the yellow. Young people are not really interested in red and yellow. They want to see representation for everybody, and that is what I'm offering. I'm going to make sure that I represent everyone in my constituency, regardless of color.
Thank you, Jeremiah. St.
Thank you,
Lucia,
Monday.
I know he said that, bringing hope, but Jeremiah, you have been hope to a lot of persons. Thousands of St. Lucians rallied around you, and you brought that inspiration and hope to us, I think, in some of the darkest times in St. Lucia, when people were going through
Yes.
their own COVID-19 struggles, and to watch you and be on that journey with you. Thanks for sharing with us.
No problem.
St. Lucia, this was SLP Town Hall Tuesday. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and my guest was Mr. Jeremiah Norbert. That's it. Have a good evening and stay safe.